Known the world over as a source of migrant labor, the Philippines is now attracting thousands of workers from nearby countries through online casino operators. Promises of high wages are rife in the industry, which has brought fortune to some, but doom to others, as we find out this week on CNA Correspondent.
In Vietnam's capital Hanoi, this class of a dozen students is on the last leg of their training to prepare them for a journey that they hope will change their lives. In a week, they will leave Vietnam for a job at the biggest hub for online gambling in Asia, the Philippines.
Thị trường Phi về đang nổi lên với cái thị trường rất là tốt, tiềm năng và có vẻ rất là ổn định.
Nếu như mà em không đi xuất khẩu lao động mà làm tại thị trường Việt Nam thì nó cũng chỉ là những công việc lao động chân tay và mức lương nó khá là thấp.
Gia đình cũng định là cho em đi Đài Loan làm xuất khẩu lao động rồi. Nhưng mà về bên đấy thì nó lại làm về lao động chân tay. Cho nên là với lại đồng lương nó cũng không có cao bằng bên Philippines ạ.
With its young and growing population, Vietnam is emerging as a major source of workers for Philippine Offshore Gaming Operators, or POGOs. Workers are promised a monthly salary of up to $1,700 to work at online casinos. That's 4 times what they are likely to earn in Vietnam and doesn't require a college degree or manual labor. But they need to speak Mandarin. The Philippines' online casinos, which flourish due to the country's liberal gambling laws, have a huge customer base in China, where gambling is illegal. The industry reportedly hired more than 300,000 Chinese workers at its peak before COVID-19 struck.
Đất nước Trung Quốc, họ không ưu tiên và không khuyến khích người Trung Quốc sang bên Philippines làm việc. Vì vậy là có rất nhiều các bạn Trung Quốc là phải trở về Trung Quốc. Nên là cái nhu cầu của các công ty bên đấy thì cần một lượng người khác để bù đắp cho cái sự thiếu hụt nhân sự.
Trainees here are taught computer and language skills over 6 months to help them land a job at POGO. The job scope roughly involves chatting with Chinese gamblers virtually and helping them with money transfers for their gambling accounts. The owner of this training and recruitment center spent 6 years herself working at POGOs in the Philippines before opening her agency. As the operators move away from hiring Chinese workers, she sees an opportunity for young Vietnamese to fill the void, though she admits there are risks.
Hoàn toàn người ta có thể đuổi các bạn nếu như các bạn không làm được việc. Thì chính vì cái sự không ổn định đấy nên các bạn mới cần phải được đào tạo tốt nhất có thể. Lừa đảo rất nhiều, bán người rất nhiều. Và chúng ta không làm được việc, chúng ta không đáp ứng được, hoặc chúng ta vào các cái công ty mà nó không tốt thì nó dẫn đến một cái tình trạng là các bạn sẽ không kiếm được tiền, mà ngược lại các bạn còn bị mất tiền. Phải gọi người nhà hỗ trợ tiền cho các bạn để các bạn có thể quay trở lại được Việt Nam.
Competition among POGOs to hire Vietnamese workers is heating up. Recruitment agencies use social media to reach out to them, touting a high salary, free meals and accommodation, and fancy offices in skyscrapers. It's a stark contrast to life in rural Vietnam, where some of the Chinese are from. The lure of the online gambling industry has reached even this remote region in Vietnam's northern Bát Sát commune, near the border with China. Chào Lao Ta was born and raised here. He hails from the Dao ethnic minority, who for generations have relied on tourist farming for food and income. Ta wants to leave that tradition and a life of hardship and poverty behind.
Em cảm thấy nó rất là vất vả. Năm nào mà chẳng may mất mùa chẳng hạn thì nó sẽ rất là khó, thậm chí là không đủ ăn.
Ta's father is the village chief and earns some extra income. But even so, the family had to borrow nearly $3,000 to pay for Ta's training at the agency. They are betting on him to turn the family's fortunes around.
Bây giờ đa số như thanh niên là người ta ra trường hỏng hết lớp 12 cũng về cũng toàn là thất nghiệp, không có cái gì làm cả. Hàng năm mỗi một năm thu nhập của gia đình cũng đều là rưỡi 40 triệu. Rưỡi 40 triệu. Nếu mà Tạ mà sang đấy mà nó một tháng mà nó bằng đấy thì gia đình rất là vui.
Mong muốn đầu tiên của em 6 tháng đầu này, em sẽ mong là sẽ kiếm được đủ tiền về để mà trả hết nợ, số nợ mà em đã vay mượn để đi học và vài số nợ cá nhân của gia đình nữa. Và em cũng mong là sẽ có đủ tiền để mà cho em trai đi học nữa.
But Ta's mother would rather have him close to home.
Thời buổi bây giờ con không làm được việc của mẹ đâu, con đi thôi, con đi kiếm tiền thôi. Mẹ ở nhà mẹ khang làm ít thôi, con khang đi kiếm tiền, mẹ không phải lo. Nhưng mà chỉ phải là mẹ rất là lo mà ở nhà các con không biết ra ngoài làm như thế nào.
Chỗ hiện tại nó là quê nhà, nhưng mà nó không tạo được thu nhập cho em, thì em bắt buộc em phải tìm được một cái con đường khác.
As the moment Ta's class leaves Vietnam for the Philippines approaches, some try to hold on to what's familiar.
Em không biết chuẩn bị gì ngoài cái thuốc men, hạ sốt các thứ. Xong là em chỉ bị ít đồ Việt Nam mình mới phở, mì tôm với một ít xúc xích.
A moment of silence and contemplation as they head to the airport. There's anxiety mixed in too, as they will enter as tourists and arrange for work visas only after they begin their employment.
Bạn nào đều đã được bảo quan để làm sao mà chúng ta nhập cảnh được an toàn. Đấy, thì chúng ta cũng yên tâm về vấn đề này. Bạn nào mà chưa nhập được cảnh ấy thì là phải thông báo luôn về cho bên mình để bên mình sẽ xử lý cho các bạn kịp thời nhé.
And off they go. But what awaits them is a controversial industry that's facing backlash for its social ills.
Ta, the Vietnamese POGO worker from Lao Cai province, recruited by a Hanoi-based agency, now lives and works in this heavily guarded compound.
Sắp tròn 3 tháng rồi, nhưng mà em cảm thấy công việc nó vẫn đang trên đà gọi là ổn định thôi, vẫn chưa có cái gì gọi là nó thực sự biết hết về công việc em. Thì thời gian đầu em không quen, em lên làm mà mắt em nó cứ xuống, thực sự không mở được. Em phải xin chủ ra cho em đi dạo vài vòng lên, hoặc là dự tính là tháng sau em sẽ dự thi cái phần tuyển chính để tháng sau nữa em có thể kèm được người mới.
The compound is located in Cavite province, some 30 kilometers south of Philippine capital Manila. It was converted from a resort and occupies the entire island. Foreign POGO workers have their own quarters here, near their office building. This area near the POGO Island complex now has a number of businesses, many of them catering to a Chinese clientele. Now, obviously, there are other offices in this area, but there is a visible multiplier effect stemming from the establishment of POGOs and POGO dorms in this area. Still, Philippine lawmakers are wary of what they say are the social costs of POGOs. Mia was only 15 years old when she was trafficked into a prostitution den that catered mostly to Chinese nationals in the Philippines. Fearing that the syndicates who victimized her would track her down, she asked me not to reveal her face or real name, as she tells me how she was duped into a job that robbed her of her youth.
At that time po kasi wala po kami ng family ko. Then, in-offer po sa akin ng kaibigan ko na may work daw po. Ayun. Tapos pagpunta ko po doon, sinabi po na malaki daw po yung sasahodin, ganun. Unang offer po na work is massage. Tapos pagpunta ko po doon ko na mismo nalaman na may extra service nga po yun. Ano po siya, yun po makikipagtalik po kami sa customers. Kahit anong gawin na lang po, basta daw po talik, ganun.
In 2020, such prostitution dens became the subject of a Philippine Senate panel investigation. Opposition Senator Risa Ontiveros uncovered a trafficking scheme that offers sexual services to workers of so-called Philippine Offshore Gaming Operators, or POGOs. POGOs cater to a huge Chinese market. With gambling mostly banned in mainland China, its people turn to online gambling through these Philippine-based companies. The Philippines is host to more than 30 legally registered POGOs as of February. Many more are unlicensed. Aside from prostitution, POGOs have been linked to other crimes, including kidnappings of migrant workers. Foreign workers became valued commodities as labor became scarce due to pandemic-linked travel restrictions. Some victims reported being raped by their abductors. There's also the use of violence among POGO factions. Dead bodies of Chinese nationals have been seen in abandoned lots, and suspected kidnappers found to possess unlicensed firearms. Police data show 40 POGO-related kidnapping incidents were recorded in 2022, slightly lower than 42 recorded a year before. But that's at least 4 times as many compared to pre-pandemic levels. Of the nearly 900 suspects in these incidents, almost 9 in 10 were Chinese. I visited a police station to learn more about the latest arrests made in relation to POGO-linked crimes. They were tight-lipped, but a police source gave me details of a case involving the recent escape of an abducted Chinese POGO worker, including the name and location of a witness to track down. The source said abductors demanded at gunpoint 300,000 Philippine pesos, or some $5,500 for the worker's release, a ransom amount similar to other POGO-linked kidnapping incidents. I went to the Bayside area where the suspected abductors were arrested, and after several days, I was able to track down witnesses. They said it was on this bridge, just meters away from malls, condominiums, offices, and even the Senate building itself, that a Chinese POGO worker jumped out of a vehicle and into the embrace of a main witness.
Kinumport ko muna siya. So yun, tiniyak ko na hanggang tutubig sinabi niya. Kasi nanginginig siya lahat eh. Umiiyak nga, magdamot siya. Takot niya eh. So, pinapaport ko siya. So, kidnap ang sinabi sa akin eh. Gano'n ko sa kanya. Tinipe niya. Kidnap, help me.
In tracking down and speaking with multiple witnesses of an abducted POGO worker's escape in this very bridge, you get a tiny glimpse of just how hard it is to investigate and more so prosecute POGO-related crimes, specifically the kidnappings of POGO workers. The prevailing perception among witnesses I spoke to is that the syndicate or syndicates behind these abductions are people with the resources to put their lives at risk, and so they're forced to stay silent. Still, proponents of the industry say one should distinguish between legal and illegal POGOs. Registered POGOs are regulated by a state firm in charge of casinos and gaming that's among the government's largest revenue sources. An industry group stressed the economic benefits of the sector, saying it contributed over $1.12 billion to the government from 2016 to 2022, while providing more than 23,000 jobs. It adds that no crimes were recorded among its 16 member operators.
Nakakalungkot na dahil sa mga hindi magagandang pangyayari sa POGO industry ay nailalahat ang batiko sa buong Pogo industry.
But Mia, the trafficking survivor who was prostituted to Pogo workers, believes it is high time to ban Pogos. Some of her friends have been trafficked as well, she says. At the prostitution ring that duped her, there was a girl as young as 13 years old.
Para sa akin po, yun po yung pinakamasamang nangyari sa akin. Parang sasaktan po ako pag hindi pa po ako pumayag ng gusto niya. May mga iba po kasi napapagawan ka, yung pinapagawa niya po sa akin is hindi ko po talaga kaya. Yun po, sabi ko po ayoko. Inoferan po ako pero hindi ko po talaga kaya yung pinapagawa niya.
Pogo-linked crimes, I understand, are... Philippine Senator Grace Poe is the daughter of an action star, known in his movies as a defender of the oppressed. But these days, the daughter of the so-called king of Philippine cinema is fighting crime through her legislative work. She says the Philippines is being used as a venue by Philippine Offshore Gaming Operators, or POGOs, to market online gambling in a country like China, where it is prohibited.
This sector has turned one vice, which is gambling, into a host of other more serious problems like kidnapping, serious physical injuries, and human trafficking.
I asked the senator why she thinks this is so. The previous investigation by a Senate panel looked into the social costs of Philippine offshore gaming operations. But can't these social costs, including crimes, be regulated through crime prevention, proper law enforcement?
Unfortunately, we've seen that it's very difficult to distinguish between legal and illegal POGOs. The main business model of a POGO is inherently flawed already. Number one, aside from its gambling, their target market is a country where online gambling is banned.
With the rise of Pogo-linked crimes, I wonder about the effects of Pogos on the vibrant Chinese business community here in the Philippines. Though controversial among heritage conservationists, this bridge I'm on connects the Philippines and China in more ways than one. It is funded by a Chinese grant and connects Manila's old walled city called Intramuros to Manila's Chinatown, among the world's oldest Chinese enclaves. The bridge is just a stone's throw away from the office of the Federation of Filipino-Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry. It composes of 170 chambers of commerce with diverse and opposing opinions. I spoke with a representative of the Federation to find out where they stand on the debate over POGOs.
In the case of Federation, it hopes the government of the Philippines, the national government, can assess the whole situation and decide based on balancing interests. The first thing that should be taken out are all these many illegal POGO operations. There are legit legal POGO operations.
Well, sir, as a businessman yourself, you also write a column for a national newspaper called the Philippine Star. What is your personal opinion on the POGO industry as a thought leader?
Most of the operators of the POGOs in the Philippines are illegal entrepreneurs of China. I don't want the Philippines to be known in China and all over Asia as the playground or haven for illegal entrepreneurs.
Of Metro Manila's 16 cities, at least one has banned POGOs. Pasig City's ordinance bans all forms of online gaming to operate in the city after the year 2023, citing the spate of POGO kidnappings. Beyond the kidnappings, syndicates have started taking advantage of the perceived lucrativeness of POGOs, using fake POGO jobs as a lure to recruit Filipinos into other scam jobs. Jane is a trafficking survivor who asked us not to reveal her real name. She was employed to work as a POGO call center operator in Thailand, but ended up a victim who was forced to work in a cryptocurrency scam ring based in Myanmar.
Narinig ko yung word na POGO, nag-search naman ako. Meron akong nakita doon, 50,000 a month. Sabi ko, 50,000 a month? Tapos, increasing lagi yung salary nila. Tapos nakikita ko may mga ads or may mga video na naghihikayat din yung mga katulad nating Filipino na malaki ngayon sahod, hindi stressful, ganon. Yun yung mga nakita kong ads.
I spoke with a representative from the Bureau of Immigration to find out more about such job scams.
They are enticed by these companies to work abroad with high salaries, with good promises about the company that they are promised to work as BPO employees only to find out that it's a cryptocurrency scam.
Dana Sandoval says many of the Filipinos duped into these job scams are highly educated and have previous international travel records. This makes it harder for immigration officials to identify them as trafficking victims. Ms. Sandoval says they are subjected to physical abuse, especially if they fail to meet their quota to scam other victims. This was verified by trafficking survivor Jane. She now spends her days debunking online fake POGO job ads on a social media page that's connected her to her illegal recruiter.
Ang tulong na lang na magagawa ko sa mga pwede pong mahikayat is talagang pag nagko-comment sila ng how to apply, talagang nagpi-PM po ako na wag nyo nang subukan, wag. Hirap na araw-araw kami papasok na hindi namin gusto yung ginagawa namin. Kaso wala kami choice kasi kailangan namin mabuhay.
Despite the pitfalls and uncertainty, the POGO industry continues to be a lure for many young people in Vietnam.
Trong 1-2 năm tới, cái lượng người Việt Nam mình sang bên Philippines sẽ còn đông hơn như thế rất nhiều. Nhưng mà hiện tại bây giờ là do nhu cầu quá lớn, nên là cái việc mà chúng ta để đi sang được bên Philippines thì nó sẽ dễ dàng hơn so với những năm về sau.
And these young trainees are willing to bet on their luck for a better future.